Good to see you, Mr. Watkins.
Good to see everyone. Good to see you, Spivey. You're up in Indy, right?
I'm in Indianapolis, getting ready to head over to the event as soon as we wrap up national calls today.
Final spring tour. Almost said fall tour because we were talking about fall tours this morning and some of the things we want to do differently. But final spring tour, huh?
Man, fired up for it. We had a tremendous event recently here in Las Vegas. It was great to see all the leaders out there. So much good content, and can't wait to see more of the same here in Indianapolis.
It's good. Love it, guys. As you guys know, this is only 30 minutes today. So we got the one, the only Donna Forehand, accompanied by Scott Forehand, who's rocking the Hawaiians today, which I love.
Hawaii Wednesday, apparently.
Just got back from a carrier trip, all excited and ready to hit the ground running. So since we only have 30 minutes, actually 27 minutes, we'll
27.
wind up and go. And anyone that makes it on this platform for the leaders call, there's something going on really good for you guys to get pinged by the team. So love to hear what you guys got going on and how you're doing it. And we'll stay on and just kind of dig in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely want to say congratulations to the Forehands, recently promoted to the 115 contract. They're doing amazing things. A lot of times you hear the Forehands mentioned in the breadth of advanced markets and prolific producers and tremendous leaders. I think a lot of you are starting to hear more and more of just how prolific Donna is in the building capacity. She works quite hand in hand with Scott. I know he contributes and does a lot on the building side as well, but that is really Donna's forte. And I just want to say, Casey, with the 115 promotion, they're already clipping at the numbers needed for total number of riders.
I saw that.
They hit that 120.
Yeah, that's incredible. So want to hear how y'all are doing that. It's so good. And that's the idea when you hit these promotions like that, you're already starting to kind of qualify and check the boxes for the next one. That's the ideal situation. So nicely done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Definitely a team effort. And Scott and I are a team as well as the Forehand team. So, I was thinking about that this morning in the beginning days of recruiting, how it was addition and it was one interview at a time and one more agent and getting them through onboarding. And then when we grew to the point of having other people who wanted to build, it got a little bit faster. And then we started a bullpen last year. And that's when our growth exploded, when I have 4 people, 2 more waiting to get into the bullpen. But that's when it changed from addition to multiplication. And that's what got us to 115.
And so the bullpen is really just kind of a co-op where once you jump into the bullpen, you pony up a certain amount of investment dollars, like a minimum amount that you're looking for.
Yep.
And then everyone kind of shares in the spoils of that collective pot.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And by the way, Donna Forehand, Direct to V, George and Janet Matthews, Kevin Purdy, and the Lynn Watkins hierarchy. So yeah, there's different styles of starting a bullpen and setting up a bullpen, but basically it's a way for newer agents to share in the cost of recruiting, the cost, the time investment, the training of a recruiter, and it allows you to get started without having to hire these people on your own and figure it all out on your own. So we have a recruiter that sets all the appointments for the people in our bullpen. I have one person who renews all of the ads and tracks their production. She tracks the results.
Yeah, the metrics. Yep.
Yeah, it tracks the metrics, and I keep it really simple with ZipRecruiter. I have 3 ads. I have 12 different titles, and I just rotate the titles on the different ads.
Yep.
I keep it simple, keep it below the radar, not trying to raise any red flags, and stay within the guidelines that Symmetry has given us. And that's working really, really well. And, we track which cities are getting good responses and adjust accordingly. I have 50 ads running through ZipRecruiter. And, the people in our bullpen have the option of doing 5 to 10 per week, or 10 to 15 appointments set on their calendar. And then the recruiter sends them the resume, and they go for it. They do the first interview and then reach out to me for the second interview. And it's worked great.
Love that. So your recruiter screens and sets interviews, or the first
Correct.
interview, and you have one recruiter doing pretty much all of that?
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yep. So she sets about 30 to 40, 30 to 50 interviews a week for the people in our bullpen.
So much to dissect here and kind of take away from this, but I think fundamentally the thing that you're doing that is very smart, and anyone can do this at a certain level, which is just to make sure that, you know, you're managing the right activities with your team and that you're getting buy-in on the recruiting aspect of things. If you want to go from addition to multiplication, you guys out there can do that. Even if you only have 3, 4, 5 people, you know, you get into this management kind of, you know, manager kind of role where you think, well, all I really am trying to do is drive production. But it's more than that. I want to drive production, but I also want to drive that recruiting activity. And you formalize that with a bullpen, you know, with an approach like you have, a co-op. What did you call it again?
We call it a bullpen.
Yeah.
So it's worked really well for us, Casey, and I think that part of the reason that we've advanced so quickly through the levels is because Scott has the ability to focus on sales and production, and I strictly do recruiting. And so we have very separate roles, although he does recruiting as well. He does a lot of table recruits. And when we first started, there was a lot of warm market recruiting. But yeah, it just like when you're interviewing new agents, you have to set expectations. We do that with people that we're bringing in our bullpen, and we do that through a contract. George was nice enough to share his contract with me for our agents, and so it delineates what their responsibilities are, what ours are, and what the fees are, and they're charged every week automatically, and there's no question. So we're all on the same board. We're all on the same page. We meet once in a while, maybe once every other week, talk about things that are working and things that aren't working. And you know, even now, I'm going back and listening to agents that have been doing this for a year to see what they're missing, what can they improve in their interview to get better retention. And
I love that.
You know, one of the things that I like to say when I'm setting an appointment or having a talk with someone is, we're not setting an interview. Nobody wants to go to an interview. That gives I don't like the connotation behind it. So I always tell people, let's have a conversation. And that little tweak, that little word has just a much more relaxed atmosphere and sets people at ease. And
yes,
you know, I'll have a conversation with you all day. I don't want to be interviewed all day.
I love that.
So
I think, I mean, that's such a big thing. And I've the longer I recruited, the more I realized that that's really all I'm doing. And by changing that language a little bit, I think it kind of, it flips it for people a little bit, that this is nothing more than a conversation, which is a two-way. Conversations are two ways, right? And I think do you hear a lot of times in people trying to do an interview that they're actually just trying to sell this thing, and they're talking 75, 80% of the time, and the person on the other line is just kind of listening? Do you feel that that is some of the areas where you kind of have to coach?
Well, that's where I started. Was I spent all my time selling Symmetry and talking at them for an hour.
Yep.
Or, you know, I spent way too much time on an interview initially. And so, and going through the questions, because I wanted to make sure I got them all, and I wanted to tell them everything there was to know about Symmetry. And that's not important. What's more important is how you make them feel. And if you can open up their mind to their dream space and find out what it is that they want. Just, you know, what motivates you?
Yes.
What do you want to get out of this? And it took me a long time, Casey, to get to that point. I, in our previous jobs, have done lots of interviewing, And this is different than hiring somebody for a W-2 position. It's a different conversation. And, you know, to be honest, I don't even look at resumes when I'm talking to people. Anybody can put anything they want on a piece of paper. If they can't carry on a conversation with me, if it's like pulling teeth, then I don't want to talk to them. You know, it's more important for me to hear what's coming out of their heart, not what's on a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
So my approach to interviewing is completely different than what it was 2 years ago or a year ago or 6 months ago. And that's changed because of my belief in this system and in our team and in our mentors. And so, you know, we're living a different lifestyle than we've lived before. And I can really speak from the heart now, whereas before I was speaking from the mind.
Yep. And a lot of times you get into that trap, you see new people, new recruiters kind of get into that world where you are a pretty good salesperson. You're probably, you're doing good in the field, and you kind of, you end up kind of taking that interview into more of a salesy, you're talking 75, 80, 90% of the time. They're saying very little. You're, puking all over about how much you love this thing or how awesome each component is. And the problem with that is you'll probably recruit people, but you end up attracting the wrong type of person. You end up attracting the people that are looking for a handout versus kind of a hand up,
Absolutely.
So with the right posture, when you really know what you have, you don't have to oversell it. You can kind of understand from them a little bit more, which is what you're saying, what they're actually looking for. And you've softened everything. It's not an interview. It's not a contract, it's a conversation, and it's some paperwork to get started. And it's also not, you're going to crush it. It's like, there's only one way to find out. There's a lot of people that are crushing it. And if you jump on board, we're going to know pretty quickly,
Yeah. Scott is really, really good about setting expectations in the interview. Occasionally I'll send my interviews to him if I feel like they need a little more. And that's fine. I mean, I who knows how many conversations Scott had with George before he signed on, but it was quite a few, I can tell you that. So where was I going with that?
Got some good questions here too. Not to interrupt, but like cost for participants in the bullpen on average. What are people investing? Because that's the other fundamental thing that everyone should be hearing right now, is that you are investing into this side of the business, and that means that you're concentrating your time and your people's time down to the actual high net worth activities, which is personal production, sitting on appointments and doing interviews or having these conversations, right?
So the lower end is $100 a week, and the upper end is $200 a week, and that's what it doesn't cover 100%, but it's really beforehand subsidizing it for them, because we have our recruiter cost, we have my cost, we have the person who updates the ads, and it's still a huge savings for them to do it this way, and to try to do it on their own.
That's actually not just the four hands, it's you, Casey, subsidizing that. Thank you very much for the capital bonuses, the producer bonuses, the overrides, the slingshot bonus, all that stuff. That's where the funds to do this is coming from.
Love that. That's what it's there for. That's awesome.
I mean, we talk about delayed gratification, and Scott and I, that I'm going to date myself, that Beastie Boys song, "No Sleep Till Brooklyn."
Yeah.
We said no new house till 120. So this is, that's our delayed gratification. I'm still driving the Toyota Camry, even though I've got my eye on a Maserati. It's right now, 120 is the next stop, and it's been the only goal since we started here. And,
Love that.
And we're on the track, and we're seeing results, and that's the exciting part.
How much is that in your business, and pretty much everyone's business, self-included? Our company is at a state where there's so much opportunity that your dollars go there's no better investment than your business.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you get the tax benefits of the investments, you actually control the needle, and there's so much upward momentum and upward opportunity for all of us to take right now. How much is that new car going to actually cost us if it diverts our investment dollars away from the thing that's like there's nothing else that's getting an ROI like this right now. You know,
Exactly.
nothing.
Yeah. And, you know, we're working from home. I don't need a fast car. That's going to cost me a lot more money with kids.
It's going to sit in the garage, right? Totally get it.
I was talking to Scott earlier too, and Scott made a very good point. A lot about it is the recruiting and getting people the opportunity and the decision to make for themselves. Is this the right place for them? But Scott, that's step one. The next step, probably the most important step, is getting agents engaged. And how do you and Donna go about this?
Yeah, so thanks. We have a number of pieces. We do a lot of training, dial teams, all that stuff, pop-up dial teams. We've got leaders on the team that just come in and do it. We have specifically identified a person who's on our team, James McRae, who is our base shop mentor. And this is something that I think I heard about this a while back from Pritchett's group and things like that. And the whole idea here is that you've got somebody we pay him a salary to be there and be available for our team if I can't take the call from the table, or if someone's having a game planning trouble, or if they can't make one of our game planning calls, they have immediate support available to them. And from my perspective when I was a new agent, that time, if I reached out to George Matthews 6 or 7 times a day, he was there. And where I'm at this point, I can do all that stuff. I just don't have the time to do all that stuff. So this is something, you said a while back, Casey, it's all about staffing up. This is a big deal. You got to get the recruiter, you got to get the base shop mentor, I've got an office assistant who handles all the DFL business that we do. So this is a huge deal. And when you think about it, if you're one of those producer people, is $400 an hour what you're making when you're in the field? And if you're a trainer person, what is that? Is that $20 an hour? Where's your best time spent? What's the highest and best use of your time? And then this is all about leveraging that. It's about leveraging people. And Jamie gets a lot out of it too. His skill set's being honed as we move forward, and he's getting ready to make top producer and all that other stuff. And this is it's just a win-win-win for everybody. And then most importantly is that whole engagement piece. It doesn't matter how many people you recruit. Doesn't matter how many packets you get back. All that matters is how many people come in and start producing and change their lives. And that's, this is that relationship. Just matter of people come first. It's that relationship with the client, but it's also that relationship with the agents. And I feel a personal responsibility for the agents when they come in for their success. And for me I don't want to ever look at somebody who left and think I didn't do what I could have done for them. And if that means I can provide an additional support system or another person or whatever, then that's, I didn't do it, then I'm going to feel horrible. And finally, that part is, Donna said it earlier, managing expectations. What are you going to be when you get here? Who are you? Are you going to be, as Purdy puts it, a slow trained person or a fast trained person? And if you're going to be a fast trained person, all right, come on, get on board. Let's do it. I'm riding it with you. Yes, if you're going to be a slow trained person, that's fine too. It takes time to build into it. And when you're ready to jump on the fast train, we'll be here. But the whole idea is, and this is some of the stuff that you guys have done, the S&A piece, the slingshot piece, all these things are phenomenal tools for new agents to really focus on and get into. And I love that you guys actually did the research and ran the numbers and looked at the metrics of how many apps does a new person write to where they're still going to be here a year later. That's huge. That number, I had no idea what the number was, but I knew there was some kind of correlation. And I'm glad you guys did the math and made that S&A status, that S&A, I call it a level of leadership, really, to be available. It's just phenomenal. So you guys are awesome, by the way.
I love that, man. Thank you for that. And but we were actually having about an hour and a half meeting this morning on all things slingshot. S&A's looking at the data, looking at the trends since we've initiated it, and it's because of teams like you guys who are actually embedding it and promoting it. Because there's other teams that maybe don't promote it as much, and these things are practically free to leverage. You just have to put some energy into it and actually make sure it's in the system as you're onboarding people. Make sure they're hearing it. Make sure everyone's getting that consistent message. You guys are doing exactly. You're employing the same strategy that Brandon and I did when we started growing a very small base shop to start with, into a bigger agency, into the company, which was heavy in the field, good personal production. That provided the cash flow to actually hire the right people, get some assistance, you know, pay a base shop mentor some bonus, or like to your point, a salary, you know, get people backfilling that work that keeps us in our high net profit stuff. Have you found that the personal production is that key to keep to make that transition so that you can pay for that? And then, hit that first. Like, how important has that been?
So here's a big surprise. I have an opinion. I'm pioneer connector, right? I definitely have an opinion. So for me, and I've heard you say this before, Casey, and George Matthews says it all the time, that smoke of battle, that piece, you cannot underplay that enough. So you're talking about, you know, the metrics and the mechanics of what it does for you. It gives you that funding and all that other stuff. It goes a step further than that, though.
Yeah.
You know, if you bring somebody on one of these calls and they call out the leaderboards, and the person that you're talking to is trying to recruit you is up there on the leaderboard national, what does that do? What kind of impact does that have on that potential recruit?
Hey.
So the point I'm making here is, you know, and this is something that you should market. You should Facebook it. Congratulations to so-and-so on our team. We just did this. Preach it. Because when you get out there and you're putting those numbers up on that board, it's a very attractive thing. I don't mean the pretty like my wife. I mean attractive as in I'm going to be able to go ahead and say, okay, yeah, well, we know what we're doing. Andre Nero just wrote $60,000 last week, or whoever you're talking about. You can point to that. But if it happens to be you, hold your socks on.
So big. Yep.
It's an easy, I don't want to mean like a sales, but it is. It's still a sale. It's an easy close for that recruit. And they feel an instant level of security that they're in the right place, that they've got the right teachers, the right coaches, the right mentors, the right support, the people that have been there. And I can prove it because I can point to the leaderboard and say, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. I can do that. Yep. And then when you're talking about, this is another added benefit when you're looking at the entire team and the growth of the team, how much easier is it for that brand new agent who's trying to start recruiting to be able to say, yeah, we're on this team and we're routinely on the top of the leaderboards, or we're routinely up there, or whatever the case may be. It gives them an opportunity. You know, for Jamie Satterfield on our team, our first AO, it was the same thing for him. He was able to, when he started recruiting, he was able to point to me to a little bit. And now his team, Teresa Sackman just made AO, Harrison Zipkin, those folks that are recruiting, they're able to point to Jamie because Jamie's a heavy hitter producer. So that I don't think you can understate the importance of being out in the field and being able to prove that you can do this, that it can be done. And, you know, you don't have to look any further than me, or in Jamie's case, Jamie, or now Teresa. Teresa's a heavy hitter. You don't have to look any further than Teresa. And so it's not just for you, it's for your entire team. And that's a big part that I think sometimes a lot of people miss.
Don't you guys find that when you get in that zone where you're just leading from the front with personal production and with recruiting, that things just get a little easier?
Definitely.
People that are in the just like, man, this is so like, you're allocating your time the wrong way. Most of the time, it's just you're allocating your time the wrong way. And if you would allocate it the right way, things will get dramatically easier and dramatically more simple.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a for new people, even in the sales side, that's the biggest problem for new people, is taking control of their schedule and doing the right things at the right time on the right days. But for here, Donna, she's got her schedule down, and it's, don't interrupt her if it's time to do interviews. I can't talk to you right now. Leave me alone. I'm in fifth gear. Leave me alone. So, right?
Absolutely. Donna, we've got a lot of questions. Just on average, do you have a preference on how many people you like in your bullpen at once? Does it matter?
Yeah, I like to keep it manageable, but also, going back to what Scott says, it's really important that they have the funds, they have the presence they're representing. They need to be somebody that's attractive. So I don't want to put somebody in the bullpen if they're brand new. I would like to see a consistent $10,000 a month APV minimum before I put them in the bullpen. There are other ways to recruit that are free, but I'd like to see them get their their production up before putting them in the bullpen. And there are a couple people that want to be in right now, and I'm kind of holding them off a little bit. I can put them in, but you need to be able to fund it. And I don't want to make a situation worse for you before you're ready, before you're ready to take that on. That's just my personal preference. You guys might do it differently. I don't ever discourage someone from starting to recruit unless they come in here independently wealthy, then come on in.
Yeah, you're right. There's free recruiting activities. You don't need to be in that bullpen to start off with. But I also just like the expectation that you guys are setting. You're not trying to sell the bullpen to people.
Right.
You're setting the expectation that if you can get yourself in this position, that will,
it's a benefit to be in there. It's not just given. And also, I can handle maybe 2 more people in my bullpen. Beyond that, I'll have to hire another recruiter and train. But I expect that some of the people that are in my bullpen now will be breaking out as agency owners by the end of the year, and then they can start their own. So I'm comfortable. I know we should get out of our comfort zone, but starting a bullpen was getting me out of my comfort zone. But I think we're at a steady pace, and we didn't build the fastest, but I'm more of a slow and steady, and Scott's more of 100 miles an hour. So there's a balance.
Yep. We
have to bring, and we are complete opposites, and we do complement each other in our efforts. And we've learned a lot in communicating with each other and working with each other to make this go forward successfully.
That. And so you mentioned that your new agent or your base shop mentor is a salary position, right? Was there any reasoning behind that versus just paying them a bonus on net placed, or is it
we're doing a little bit of each? I mean, the salary is minimal, but we are requiring 10, 15 hours a week of his time. So we want to make sure that is accounted for. But there are other things. We went to Utah for a week, and he took care of everything. So, there are bonuses that we can throw to him, and I'm happy to share that if somebody wants to know it. But
I think that's the punchline of it, is that there is a bonus based on minimal salary, but the bonus is actually based on results and kind of.
Absolutely. So a small percentage of whatever the new agents are producing for the first couple of months, or until they hit an 80 or 85% contract level. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that you can take it. So it's definitely a win-win-win, Casey. I mean, it's a beautiful setup, and it's given him a lot of opportunity to train and to teach, which is what he loves to do. And he's super, super knowledgeable. And he's also an expert at annuities. So he's getting that word out there and, building up that reputation for himself. And
big fan of that model, what you guys are doing. I mean, again, you guys are, almost precisely what Brandon and I did to start the company, which was to, identify someone in the base shop that we wanted to groom as a leader, which is like Scott was saying earlier, that the byproduct is really the financial strategy of keeping personal production high. The actual thing is that you're leading from the front. Well, the same thing to me applies to the base shop mentor program, where, Edward Pritchett was our first base shop mentor. And what it did for us and what it did for Edward was it allowed us to work consistently, weekly, multiple times a week with Edward, and actually kind of groom him on the way on how to build a base shop. And so not only was he accomplishing the task, which was to move the newbies from A to B, some of that initial legwork that takes engagement, it takes time, you got to communicate with them. But, that's what Edward did for us. And every month we sat down and we looked and said, you drove this much net place production, so here's a bonus on that. And, just gave us an opportunity to kind of groom, help groom Edward in the way we felt like was going to be best for his success. And then at a certain point, the idea is that, Edward sees it on his own now. Why would I work for a bonus for 5 or 10 points on this net place production when I already know how to now recruit? I already know how to now move these guys from A to B. I can build my own base shop. So the idea is that at some point they graduate and it's on to the next one, you know?
That's exactly we looked at hiring another assistant. We looked at, okay, all the things that we needed. And I think the thing that was needed the most was a base shop mentor. Scott was at capacity. So it was really important for us to have someone to help with those game planning calls. They're 3 times a week now. So new agents have access to somebody anytime they want. We've got meet and greets on Wednesday evening that he heads up for us. So it's definitely a win-win-win, and super grateful for him and all of our team.
That's awesome. Love what you guys are doing. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
A lot of chats blowing up here. So, you know, on this kind of stuff, you know, it's kind of like, if you're curious about bullpens, if you're curious about kind of what Scott and Donna are talking about, you know, just get with your manager, get with your mentor, and just seek to understand. And maybe there's already some sort of little co-op or program they're running, or, you know, the idea is that you're just trying to recruit more too. And so just dig in with them and figure out what's next.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
That was
Thanks
really
good.
Really good stuff. I would love, Scott, Donna, both of y'all to dig into the chat while we're kind of going through some stuff. There's a lot of questions I think that you guys could answer very well after what we just heard. So, Casey, did you pedal into work again today?
Always, man.
I get a lot of questions about that, and I explained it in that as a piece of art, but it's functioning art, right?
Functional art.
Functional art's the best kind. I
kind.
used to have a weed eater on my wall that was functional art. It was really good. And then I gave it to Levi. Spivey, how was Steve Ramsey's retirement party? Oh, that's today. It's tonight.
Tonight,
right?
Steve Ramsey's dedicating a jersey in his honor. We can't wait to see him.
Casey said something to me yesterday, and I kind of felt guilty. He said, I bet there's going to be people there actually expecting there to be a retirement party for Steve Ramsey. So
he's probably getting texts like crazy.
That's my bad. There's probably not going to be anything official for Steve Ramsey's retirement party, considering that he retired about 3 years ago. So
what a legacy of a person, though. Left an imprint that we still celebrate 3 years post-retirement.
This is true. This is very true.